All right, what's up, guys? Nick here with Late Night Chess, and we're going over another Saturday morning chess.com puzzle. Notoriously the most difficult day of the week for chess.com, so I thought I would post a video going over the analysis of each of the moves. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to link the puzzle below if you want to give it a try first. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to reference this video. So feel free to pause, click the link below, and take a look at the puzzle. So first, what we're going to do is I'm just going to go over the solution as chess.com showed it without really any analysis, and then we'll go back and look at different variations. So the solution to the puzzle is queen takes b4, and then chess.com shows rook to c4, afterwards f5 check, king comes back to g3, bishop f4 check, king f3, e4 check, d takes e4, and then an interesting move, which we'll talk about, queen b3 check, king takes f4, and then ultimately queen takes d1, and black has a superior position here. So there's obviously a lot of different variations here. There's a lot of possible moves the king could have gone to. There's possible pieces that you could have taken. So we'll go through why this is the best move, or this is the best move sequence. So a couple things first to notice about the puzzle before we jump in. Black has to act fast because white is threatening rook h1 with checkmate coming really soon. So white has a really serious threat on h1. But similarly, if we can orient our pieces in the right way, black also might have a dangerous attack with his rook on the h file. So this h file is going to be a pretty common theme in a lot of the variations. And another common theme we're going to see after queen takes b4 and rook c4 is that with the right moves, black might be able to take this rook with tempo. Right, so those are the kind of two things to keep in mind. Another thing to keep in mind too in some of these variations is black's pieces are simply much more active and white's king is much more in the open than black's king. Black's king is a lot more safe, especially if we can secure the h file and prevent any rook h1 attack. So keep those things in mind as we're going through different variations. So let's go through the moves. So the first move, queen takes b4 check. The puzzle solution shows rook c4, but there's obviously a lot of other moves that can happen here. So let's go through each of the other moves and see why those don't work as well. First, we'll start with all of the different king moves because the king has some ways to maneuver out of this, right? So after king h3, this is a lot easier for black to win because black has queen h4 and white only has one move, king g2, and then after queen g4, black is going to win the rook. So this is no good for white. Similarly, after queen b4 check, king g3 also is going to lose this d1 rook. After queen f4 check, and then either the king is going to come to g2, in which case we can go queen g4 and pick up the rook again. Or if the king goes to h3, then we've already seen this variation. Queen h4 check, king back to g2, and then queen g4 is also going to pick up the rook, right? So for that reason, the king coming to g3 or h3 is no good. And then also let's take a look at king f3, which is also no good after queen f4 check. And honestly, I could probably stop the analysis here because just looking at this, the king is wide out in the open. Black has two pieces that are attacking, but let's go through some of the other possible moves. So here, the king can go either to g2, but we know what happens if the king comes to g2. I'll go queen g4 and I'll pick up the rook, so that's no good. And then the other possible move is king e2, in which case black now has a pretty nice sequence. Queen h2. Notice that the king only has a couple different moves here. The king can come to f1, e1, or f3. If the king comes to f3, then I have queen h5, and again, I'm going to be able to pick up this rook. And if the king comes to e1, then we have a simple mate in 2 after bishop h4 check, king f1, and then we have mate. So let's take a look at the only other possible move, which is king f1. So king f1 here. Now there's a really nice idea. Black really wants to come to e3 with his bishop and threaten mate, which is really hard to stop in certain lines. However, doing it right away is not going to threaten mate as forcefully as white can defend with queen g2. So black has to think through some way to maybe threaten f2 without this queen defending. And so the move here is e4, which does a couple things. One, it blocks the queen from defending g2, and also it takes advantage of the fact that black's queen is also attacking this rook. So if queen takes e4, then black is going to be able to take on c7, And if d takes e4, then black has achieved his goal of getting the bishop to e3 without the queen being able to come back and defend on either g2 or f3. And this is lights out. It's very hard to defend f2, and white is going to lose a lot of material doing so. In fact, the computer even says there's a forced mate in 8 here, or actually a forced mate in 3 if white makes a couple of mistakes. So this is just clearly devastating. So because of that, queen b4, any of the king moves here don't really work. Black is going to have a really good position. And then other moves like, say, queen e4 blocking the check seems like a good idea, right? It's kind of offering a trade of queens, which white definitely wants to do here. But it doesn't work tactically because f5 is going to pick up the queen after the king moves out of the way. So let's take a look at the actual move that we see in the puzzle, which is rook c4. Taking advantage of the fact that I can't take the rook here or else I lose my queen, right? So what do we do here? Well, the move is f5. And the reason why this works is, well, let's take a look at some of the other variations that we don't see in the puzzle. For example, why not king h3? We don't see king h3 in the puzzle. King h3 doesn't work because of queen b2, and we're taking advantage of a couple things here. The king being on h3 is now preventing any rook h1 tactics, so black doesn't need an immediate check because rook h1 no longer comes with a check, so black has a little more time. And what black is threatening is coming to f2, queen f2, which is doing a couple things. It's now threatening to take the rook because this pin on the queen is now gone. And after the queen comes to f2, um, the rook is going to have to move. And there are possible variations such as queen h4 if the rook comes off of the fourth rank, or possibly even ideas of bishop f4, king g5 with the discovered check. So this is very nasty. So king h3 doesn't really work. Other than king h3, king f3 is also not working due to e4 check immediately. And then after uh, really the only reasonable move here, which is king g3. Other moves like d takes e4 doesn't work because black will just pick up the rook. The only other reasonable move here is king g3. We take advantage of the fact that black is attacking this rook by playing queen d6. And now I'm out of this pin, and after the king moves yet again, I'm able to take the rook, right? And so for that reason, in the puzzle, we see the king coming to g3, which also doesn't work because of bishop f4 check. And after king f3, it's also good to note other moves here don't work, again, such as king h3, because after king h3, now that my bishop is on f4, I'm able to play king g5 check, discover check, and this is lights out. The rook is now on the h-file, the bishop is on a good square, and after the king comes back, say, to g2, I'm able to play queen takes b2 with a tempo, and this is obviously not going to be very good. So likely once the king comes back to the back rank, I'll be able to move my queen again with threats, and then I'm still threatening to take this rook. So it's pretty devastating. So after bishop f3, we see king f3, and after king f3, we have e4. Pawn takes e4, which makes sense. Notice if king takes f4, we have that similar idea of queen d6 check, picking up the rook, right? So this bishop really can't be taken. And so after d takes e4, you might think, okay, finally now I can take this rook, right? But you have to be careful because remember, white still has this rook h1 idea. So after rook h1, the king is in a lot of trouble. In fact, there's mate in 2. After bishop h2, the computer is saying to avoid mate in 1. And then after rook takes, the only legal move here is king g5. And then you have queen e7, which is mate. So you have to be careful here, and you can't take the rook right away because white is threatening rook h1. Instead, you can take advantage of the fact that this rook is also loose and play queen b3. Queen b3 check. And after the king takes, now you are able to take this rook, and black is definitely going to win here, being up 2 pawns. the game is pretty over. The king is also wide open. The white king is wide open, and now black's king is extremely safe on h6. So, really cool puzzle. A lot of very tricky tactics. Hopefully, you guys found this interesting. If you have any questions or if there's any variations you think that I missed, feel free to comment in the comment section below. And as always, if you like this video or other videos, please give me a subscribe and hit the like button. I really appreciate it, guys. And until next time, I'll be talking to everyone soon.